Hey guys, welcome into the Bear With Us podcast post-game show. Bears fall to the Washington Commanders 12-7. I'm Jack. He's Frank. Frank's so fucking tired of the Bears being just like a national embarrassment. Every time they're on, just stop putting us on national TV. Let me just watch and enjoy on Sundays at noon when there's a fucking million other games happening, so I don't have to fucking hear it from people who don't watch the Bears about how Justin Fields sucks and the offense sucks and everyone sucks and the Bears are terrible. And I can't defend it because the Bears just fucking play like assholes the entire game. Frank, let's be real, man. They should not have fucking lost this game. They looked like the better team up and down the field the entire game, except for a few plays here and there. And I guess that's why they lost. But Frank, I didn't think I'd get pissed this season, but I'm pissed tonight. It's unacceptable. That is an unacceptable way to lose.
I agree that it's unacceptable. And the funny part is that if Velus Jones doesn't fumble that and we get a first down or two, we might still win the game. Like, that's how bad of an overall game that this was. I'm annoyed because I keep hearkening back to the point that I don't think we did enough to get Justin Fields help at receiver. And I tweeted right after the game. I said, was this Justin's best game? Not by a mile. But his receivers did him no favors at all. Let's just get right into the two things that were absolutely Justin's fault. And it actually continued on the last red zone drive here. The first throw that the first trip to the red zone, he gets picked, he throws it off the helmet. And at first you're like, it's bad luck, someone got their hand up. But you watch it in a replay, he's doing this 3-quarter delivery in the red zone. You can't do that. And that's exactly what he just did when a ball got batted on third down or second or third, whatever it was, on this very last drive in the red zone. You can't. Your delivery has to be higher than that. That's just completely on Justin. Now I'm seeing, but I didn't see it in real time. People were saying that the second one, that the lollipop that he missed, that the tight end slowed up. It didn't look like that to me. I've watched 3 or 4 replays. That looked completely on Justin.
No.
And I'm trying to be fair because I'm still in his corner. I'm still high on Justin. I think he has a lot of upside. But this is what I was talking about early in the year. Like when you think about the Texans game, these are the unacceptable things from Justin. This isn't the first year in the scheme issue. You're not on the same page as a receiver issue. Those are all acceptable in a new offense. It's still frustrating. But this right here, an NFL quarterback makes these throws no matter what the system is. No matter first year, 15th year, you have to make the basic lollipop layup throws.
Yeah.
But outside of that, Jack, I mean, we got to cut 17. I don't even want to say I don't want to say his name.
I can't believe he was still on the roster after last week. He's terrible. He's literally the worst player they have offensively, and that's saying a lot, man.
You know what though, Jack? After last week, you can sort of you can take the angle of, you know what, it was wrong, but he was trying to make a play. Okay, say today is the cherry on top. Because again, remember, Jack, when we talked about this, and the same thing with Justin, I think in the second half he sort of proved this, but this is the same logic for me. Prove to me that you were just the guy trying to make a play last week, and shit happens. It's the NFL. You didn't today. Today was your chance to make plays.
Falling down, dropping passes.
Falling down, dropping a pass. And not for nothing. I mean, this line is falling apart, Jack. Yeah. We have injuries now. Mustipher doesn't snap the ball. Justin Fields is clapping from the 3-second point on, and Mustipher's just, not a care in the world.
I was not impressed by any facet of the game tonight, except for Alan Williams and his blitz calling. That deserves a lot of credit. Jaquan Brisker, I think this was his best game by far. He looked very active. Eddie Jackson came in for a nice hit. I was impressed by that. Jalen Johnson establishing himself as one of the best corners in the league. Like, he's just so good.
He's very good.
Roquan, I thought, played well. Missed a couple tackles at the end of the game. I think that's probably the most disappointing. Well, first of all, let me stick on the defense for a second. Justin Jones, I mean, that's Ryan Poles' best signing by far. It's not close.
Yes,
right? That's
I agree.
By far his best offseason signing, and that was not even in the plans probably, if Larry Ogunjobi works out. So maybe a stroke of luck there. Pass rush. I mean, Carson Wentz can't fucking move. Where is Robert Quinn? Is he still playing? Where is Al-Qadim Muhammad? Where is Travis Gibson? Where's Dominique Robinson? Like, there was no pass rush tonight. Granted, the secondary played well enough that it didn't really matter because Carson Wentz just looked bad, missing a ton of throws. But, I mean, this defense is so far from being truly elite, and I liked the game plan. I thought it worked. It obviously worked very well. But I think what was so disappointing, and it's literally, I mean, this is literally every Bears team we've seen forever, right? The defense is playing hard all night, limiting them to their offense to, low scores, field goals. In this case, one fucking field goal in the first half. Bears go down, score a touchdown on just an incredible throw from Justin Fields. And I want to touch on Justin Fields in a second here, but I want to get your response to the defense about what I'm about to say. I mean, it's almost scripted. They score the touchdown, you're feeling good. Boom, Washington comes right down your throat and scores a touchdown. Right? Like it's just so on point that like everything has to work perfectly for the Bears to eke out a win. And granted, they're a bad team with a bad roster. That's what's going to happen. But it's just like everything needs to be fucking perfect, right? Our quarterback's throwing fucking balls off helmets, things like that. Guys can't intercept anything. There's no pass, right? Like, it's just...
Yeah.
We've seen the same fucking movie a million times. And it's all while they're wearing these goddamn orange uniforms, Frank. I'm tired of the orange. Retire them. Have they won a game wearing the orange fucking jerseys?
Nathan Vasher had a 107-yard field goal missed return in those orange jerseys. You son of a bitch. You take back that slander.
Fuck him. And fuck the Bears.
Well, my only rebuttal to the defense is they still can't stop the run. Washington's play caller needs to be fired today because he just would not stick with the run, even though at the first drive it didn't work. Every time after that, Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson were picking up 5 or 6 yards every single carry, and he was like, "Nah, I trust Carson. Let's just keep throwing the ball, even though he's wildly inaccurate today." Yeah, they have had zero organic pass rush whatsoever, and again, the way that they blitzed today showed me that Alan Williams is starting to lose faith in that front four, which I think is a good thing for him. It's showing that he can sort of combat the liabilities. But I think if you play a really good team, that's going to come back to bite you, because not everyone has Carson Wentz throwing balls out there, and they're going to know how to beat the blitz and throw towards the blitz. It's if we don't get a pass rush, games aren't going to end 12-7. They're going to end 30-10. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to get ugly because, unless the offense can finally fucking score. But yeah, the defense, there's zero pass rush whatsoever. And I think, as the year goes on and we're able to start reflecting, because the season's going to be over for us while we're still in the season, I think, we'll start talking about the things we liked and didn't like from polls. And this is not a hindsight thing for me. I wanted Robert Quinn traded in the offseason, even if it was just for a third, because you're selling him at his highest point. What are you going to get now if you trade him at the deadline, or if you trade him in the offseason? It's just not, you're not going to get very much, if anything at all.
Right. And, I think the one sort of positive that's wrapped up in a ton of negative in regards to this game specifically is you can pretty much put the defense on the back burner in terms of building. I think, you can't really even say that though. Frank, this team has needs everywhere. Wide receiver, tight end. I mean, Cole Kmet, he makes a couple good plays a game and then he just disappears from the game plan. I'm just not quite sure I understand why. And towards the end of the game, I know Velus Jones obviously muffed that punt, and that's kind of what led to that touchdown at the end of the game. But I mean, why is he not playing on offense more? Every time he touches the ball offensively, good things happen. Equanimous St. Brown at the end of the game was not involved. It's the same clown show we see. It's Dante Pettis. It's Amir Smith-Marset. It's just like guys that shouldn't be at the end of the game. I don't understand why Equanimous St. Brown doesn't play at the end of the game. It baffles me that he's not more involved in the passing game. I don't understand. I don't.
I agree. I also, I mean, you're starting to see trends now with this team in the red zone, and two of the huge missing pieces right now for us to get touchdowns. I mean, it's so easy. All I want Luke, I don't want to say easy because it can be stopped, but I just mean the attempts are easy. All Luke Getsy has to do is go to YouTube and watch Josh Allen's first 2 years and all the quarterback draws that they did for him. Watch Cam Newton's 7 years in the league, even up to his New England days, and watch all the quarterback draws they did for him and like quarterback rollouts that were designed runs. You have to run with Justin in the red zone. It just is what it is. He like, again, I don't care what you think about his arm talent or if he can be a franchise guy. You're a clown if you don't think that kid can run the ball. He's right. An insane runner.
And he's gotten better, Frank. He's gotten a lot better. You remember last year how many hits he was taking? It looks like he's really gotten smarter about how he's running.
I totally agree. But the time to get reckless is when you're going for points. I don't want to say reckless, but like a little more aggressive with it is when you're trying to go for points. Like that's when you're supposed to do that. But then the other thing is, just like you said, I don't care if it's Komet, I don't care if it's EQ. Get your big bodies in there, get them involved in the red zone. Granted, they tried it the first throw. That was completely on Justin with the 3-quarter delivery. Komet ran a good route, boxed out his defender. That should have been a touchdown. That was on Justin. Totally on Justin. But overall, you have to get your big bodies involved. And then speaking of Velus, first of all, he can't punt return anymore. I don't know if he doesn't see the ball the right way. I don't know what it is. So something is up there. But he's the only receiver that can make plays after the catch. Get the ball in his hands. Like, again, those are two separate things. So if people think he should be benched altogether because of his punt return miscues, you're an idiot. But he's these last 2 weeks, when they've gotten the ball in his hands, he can make plays. The upside to this kid, I say kid, he could be my fucking grandfather with, the way the draft experts say it. But the ceiling for him was Deebo Samuel. And I'm not saying he's that, but you see the prototype. He's stocky. He's sort of built like a running back, and he can run. He has good vision, good at following his blocks. He can run with the ball in his hands. Get him the ball and with a little bit of space. Get him involved in the red zone. Like, if we're good, like that's what sort of annoyed me with these end arounds. Why are we ending it around to a guy that hasn't proven that he can make plays when you have Velus Jones there? And then we finally see Monty break out wide. Why aren't we getting him out wide more often? He can play receiver. He has good hands. He's a good route runner.
Yeah, let's start. This offense does not really take advantage of throwing to the running back. It's very interesting. And Frank, I know you talked about it a little bit as well. The offensive line is it's just a mess right now. Like Mustafa is just. There's so many times where Justin Fields is getting hit in the backfield, and you have Mustafa and Lucas Patrick just standing around looking like they don't know what's going on. I'm not quite sure what's happening. Braxton Jones just got owned tonight by Montez Sweat. And it's going to happen, right? Rookie left tackle. But I mean, Frank, like, I guess, we could talk Justin Fields and then maybe save it for the actual pod or just call it a night. But this was not the game I was expecting. I thought they could have taken advantage a little bit more. He missed the layup. That was a terrible throw. That can't happen. And that's it's so detracting when it's guys like you and I, who are sticking up for Justin Fields when guys are so ready to call it quits, talking about how the Bears are going to draft Bryce Young or CJ. Like we talked about that on the pod this week. So that's frustrating. And there's times where it's just like he just won't throw the foot. Like he looks scared to throw the football. But then you get towards the end of the game and he just like looks calm, collected. I think he's just one of those guys who's just like an end of the game type of player, unfortunately. But you're right. I mean, him running the football is his biggest strength. He has that Jalen Hurts type ability, right? Like that's kind of the mold that they should be looking for. I mean, not for nothing. He ran for 88 yards, threw for 190 tonight. Like, that's pretty fucking good. They just didn't score points because the red zone offense, like, I can't even say how much I blame Justin Fields for it, or even Luke Getsy, really, because they just don't have playmakers. I mean, my God, everybody dropped a ball tonight,
Yep.
including your number one wide receiver and Darnell Mooney. He can't drop that football.
Yeah.
He's got to catch that. As simple as that.
And Jack, and that's the biggest thing, and that's sort of what I hinted at earlier is, we asked Justin to show us that it's the weapons and it's not you. And granted, again, he didn't have a good game. This isn't me excusing some of that. That's why I started with the criticism of Fields, because he made mistakes as well. Just like you said, there were times where it looked like he held the ball too long. Granted, I can't punish him for that because once I see the all 22, if people weren't open, then people just weren't open. But it did look like he was holding the ball too long on certain plays. There was the one play that Herb Street isolated, and that's NFL open. But that's again, that's sort of the differentiation of like a young quarterback learning, not pulling the trigger on what is NFL open. That's young, and he can grow from that. The lollipop throws and that's sort of what I try to differentiate. That's the difference. You have to make the throw to Griffin. It's unacceptable. Have to throw it higher or have a higher release point to Kmet. Unacceptable. You can't let that happen. But all is forgiven if Pettis catches the ball, or if they give us a pass interference, for Christ's sake. I mean, that was a pass interference on that third down. And then if Mooney catches that ball, he gave both of those guys a shot to make a play, and they didn't make it. Like, those were good throws. The throw on 4th and 16 to Marset, if he catches that, he doesn't get tackled right there. He comes down and he probably gets the first, and he may fumble again, but again, that's right on the money. These throws are on the money. Whether it's a young quarterback in the grand scheme of things, or it's you isolate it to a single game like today. If your quarterback isn't having the best fucking game, that's when you really have to make plays for him. That's when it's time for your playmakers to make plays, and they did not.
Yeah. Yeah, and as much as it's kind of what we've seen all season, right? It's something that I think the entire offense needs to get better at. Luke Getsy in particular. I thought he was calling very, very good plays in the middle of the field, and they get yards. Like, they pick up first downs when you don't expect them to. 3rd and 8, you're like, this drive's over, and then boom, they're right in that. They get a first down, and they're able to make big plays. You think of the Khalil Herbert run; that was an incredible run. But then they get into the red zone, and it just becomes like football dumb. Like, they just don't know what they're doing down there. And granted, like I said, I know they don't have Calvin Johnson. They don't have Rob Gronkowski. This is something I talked about in the podcast. Go check that out if you're curious what I'm talking about. But get creative then. If you don't have the talent, he's able to scheme guys open. I like on that play that he missed the throw to Ryan Griffin, you have to complete that. At the same time, though, they weren't moving the pocket at all. They weren't doing boots. They was just, hey, we're going to try and beat you from the pocket. And that's just not Justin Fields' strength right now. He runs incredibly well. I would really like to see him stop taking so many hits, though, when it's clear that nothing's going to happen. Throw the ball away. He's just got to throw the ball away. He's got to learn that's kind of the next step. But Frank, I mean, I don't know how much, these are the flashes we kind of saw last year. And this is kind of our biggest concern going into this year is how much development is he going to be able to have with these weapons, with this group? He just doesn't have a lot to work with, and it's so hard. Herb Street, to your point, was talking about he just doesn't trust the throw. Yeah, no fucking shit, he doesn't trust the throw. Nobody can catch the ball. I mean, it's just absurd, man.
And this is what we were talking about last episode as well. I still need him. Those last 2 throws that were on the money that were dropped in the end zone. I don't even necessarily, they're not going to be counted as drops, but your receiver has to make that play in the NFL. I need him to continue to do that. I don't care if they get dropped. That still shows you making good plays. That's good film for you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want him to become trigger happy or think he has to make everything perfect, and because of that be a half tick behind because you're like, oh fuck, that's 17. He might drop this. Oh shit, that's Pettis. He might drop this. You know what I mean? Like, I can't have him think that way. And it doesn't look like he has been. But again, what we're worried about and what you're speaking to is just, we don't want there to be bad habits lingering into next year because it's such a clusterfuck around him this year.
Right. right? I would have liked, I know there was the pass interference on, or at least seemingly on Dante Pettis. I think the refs made some questionable calls for the Commanders, on the Commanders' end that the Bears didn't necessarily get. They got bailed out a couple times. That's the NFL. It's how it works. But I mean, if Cole Kmet isn't going to be your guy in the red zone going up for fades and things like that, then why is he on the team? I mean, it's questions we've been asking since Jimmy Graham was still getting paid and they cut Charles Leno Jr. Because they wanted to keep him. It was like, well, why is Cole Kmet here? Cole Kmet doesn't do anything other than work the middle of the field. I really don't understand why he's not a focal point of this offense. He's arguably your second best pass catcher, but that's not really saying anything because right now, I thought Darnell Mooney had a very solid game, but that's wide receiver 2 stuff. Right.
I don't even know if it's wide receiver 2 stuff, Jack. Because and the reason why the reason why I say that though is because he's the only guy. Like if you're talking about who you're keeping into next year on your receiving core outside of Vellis because he's your rookie, he's it. So like you're getting targets that maybe you wouldn't if there was a fuller wide receiving room.
Yeah, I will say, we should give credit to Dante Pettis making up for last week's.
That was a fucking good catch
on a just incredible, and it just chef's kiss to Amazon for the one touchdown they get. They almost fucking blow it and miss the entire play, and it's just incredible. Frank, I think I'm too wound up still.
Yeah.
I'm going to carry this energy over into next week into the podcast. It's going to be a long break for us. We appreciate you guys listening. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Comment below on your favorite play of the night, your least favorite play. Do you think Justin Fields is the guy? Why not? I don't know. It's just going to be a long week.
Yeah. Before we get out of here really quick, Jack, first of all, I never want this kid's toughness being questioned. Not that it was, but at any, I mean, there was a point where I thought he had broken ribs. The way he was like moving and getting up from those tackles. That kid is fucking tough. Second, you're a fucking idiot. I don't care if you've been on this podcast or not. You're an idiot if you think you give up on this kid. That was the one thing that Herb Street had right as well. He has too much talent. You see it. My only complaint, but we're not through with this year, is he hasn't put together a full game yet. Right. I expect multiple of those at the end of the year. That's my expectation for him. But you can't. He's too talented. He's too physically talented to give up after 17 starts. You're a fucking idiot if you truly believe that's what they should do. I don't care who you are. I don't care how big of a name, how small of a name, if you've been on this podcast or not. You're a fucking idiot.
At least make it through week 6 before saying that. But like I said, appreciate you guys listening. Frankie, talk to you next week, man.
Later, Jackie. Later, everybody.